welcome to week 2 of Meet the Farmer. I am Leanne Barrable, the Devonshire Shepherdess, and I thank you for watching this video today. So the reason I am doing these videos is to share and create awareness, help increase communication between farmers and the British public, basically. And today I'm going to talk to you on a subject that can be a little bit tricky and probably is one of the biggest reasons why so many people find farming animals particularly the most challenging. And that the subject is, where there is livestock, there is dead stock. So this is something that, since being brought up on our farm, has always been a kind of thing in our farming business, you know. And as a child, I would often, you know, see dead lambs and things that hadn't made it and stuff. I was remembering earlier when I had my very first pet, and it was a guinea pig, not a guinea pig. It was a hamster, and my hamster got mange, and we think it must have come in on the sawdust. And my dad actually let me take it to the vet and got it treated and everything. And so although we farmers find it very challenging, still I find it really challenging. It is something that we have to kind of go along with. It's something that does happen. It's the worst thing to walk out into a field and find a dead sheep or dead bullock or just anything really. When particularly at lambing, we can have high incidences of lambs which don't make it because for one reason or another. Maybe sometimes the sheep's been lambing too long and we haven't been able to help her, or we have been able to help her but it was too much of a struggle, the lamb got stuck or whatever. So it's kind of always been a thing. And the other part to it is when we discover an animal which is suffering or unwell. Maybe it's hurt its leg. You know, we had a bullock years ago fall in the river and actually broke its leg, and then you have to make the decision normally to put it down, to literally put it out of its misery, because it isn't as easy as you might think trying to splint a fully grown bullock to help its leg get healed. Like, they just don't understand. They don't have the understanding of, actually, I'm trying to do this to help you. We've done it on lambs and stuff where we've helped them with their legs using hose pipe and bits like that if they've had like bendy knuckles and things. We had a calf last year with a bendy knuckles and we strapped it, which is fine because it's smaller, but when it's bigger, it's sometimes you have to do what's right. And that is, again, it's one of the hardest things, but none of us like to see any of our animals suffering or struggling in any way. And actually it's part of the rules and regs that the government put in place to make sure that we have high welfare and health in this country when it comes to farms, that actually as soon as we make the decision that an animal needs to be put down, it must be put down then and there, basically. So through one way or another, sometimes we get the vet to come and euthanize, sometimes we shoot them, sometimes if they're smaller we can do the process ourselves. So it's a very real subject. It's happening all the time. And yesterday, so this actually happened yesterday, where we've got an old bull now who actually went lame on both his back legs this year, which considering a bull needs both its back legs to be able to do his job, which is to implant a baby in a cow, it kind of put him out of action this year. So we got his feet better and stuff, but actually he's at the age now, and he's massive. He's such a big bull that if he was to fall off or do anything like that, he could actually end up really hurting himself, and then we would end up having to put him down. So we made the decision yesterday that we would send him to to be put through the food chain, because there is absolutely nothing wrong with him and healthy in regards to that. But in regards to his job as a bull, he actually probably would, he's got to that point now where if we run him again for another season, he might go even more lame next year on his back legs, or he might fall off the cow and actually damage it. So when it comes to that side of it, that is how I see being a farmer, is that we are actually producing a product that is helping. I've actually had comments from one of the ladies that eats our beef who has autoimmune problems, and all of our beef is grass fed, so we don't feed it on any concentrates or added anything really. It's just growing on grass home here. It's on its mum right up until about 9 to 10 months, and then she kicks it off anyway and doesn't want it on her anymore, and then they go off to eat, go on to eat the grass. And this lovely lady customer said to me, she said, I feel that my health has improved because I've been eating beef which has been fully grass fed, and literally has a happy life, has a good life here with us. And that just made me really think, yes, because for those people who want to eat meat and it's their decision to, then why shouldn't they have the best quality that we can give them possible? And that's why we've started selling our own beef, because we have the ultimate control of what happens. When it goes into the food chain, we don't know where it goes, we don't know who eats it or how long it's hung or any of those kind of contributing factors, whether they use carbon dioxide to package it or any of that stuff. We don't know any of it. That's taken out of our hands. But now we are direct selling. We sell to the customer straight off of our farm, and then we get the feedback, which is just amazing. So I wanted to just go over some of the reasons why animals might just die on farm. Why we might go out one morning and everyone's absolutely fine. We go out the next morning and there's a bullock lying on its side, dead as a dodo, and you literally can't do anything about it, because that's what tends to happen. And we literally, you know, when you see a sick animal, then you bring it in, you'll have a look at it, you'll maybe take its temperature, you'll decide whether it needs antibiotics or whatever that animal might need in that moment if it's sick. But sometimes they just die. And this is the case, it would seem, for sheep. And if you're a sheep farmer watching this, you probably will have just laughed, because sheep have this horrendous habit of being absolutely fine one moment and not fine the next moment. But there's no kind of in between sometimes. They just seem to be fine and then not fine, and they're dead before you know it. And for a long time, and this is me included, for a long time, we were fighting fires when it came to the health of our animals, okay? So by fighting fires, I mean that we were using chemicals and medicines to help us with the diseases and the stuff that the sheep might have. So we'll look at, or pests then. So one of the biggest ones is worms, gut worms, lung worms, and you can also get fluke as well, which is it's like a worm kind of thing that lives in the liver. And so we were having to medicate our animals regularly. We were medicating them regularly for these three things: worms and lungworms, all sorts of worms. And so we would do that religiously, and I mean religiously, every 8 weeks. As soon as baby lambs were born, we'd give them 8 weeks and then we'd drench them. And then we'd give them another few weeks and then we'd drench them again. And we would then also, in the middle of the season, because of flies and maggots, we would also spray them. So we would spray them with a chemical spray that would keep the flies away to stop them getting maggots, which will actually eat a sheep alive. So when we, where these conversations are coming up about why we shear sheep so that it minimises the risk of them getting maggots, because there is nothing worse. And I tell you what, those little blighters get in there and you do not see them sometimes, and yeah, they've done a horrendous job before you've even before you've even really discovered that the sheep's got maggots. And you could check those things every single day. So we would spray them and we would drench them with wormer. And this was kind of our given thing. Then we would have lots of bad feet troubles, particularly when I was pregnant with Hayley, so 8 years ago. We would have a lot of sheep's feet issues, so they would be lame and stinky feet and all these horrible things. So I'd have to turn them over. We would spray them with antibiotics and then we would inject them with antibiotics. So we were using quite a lot of antibiotics on the farm, probably, yeah, so 8 or 10 years ago, we were using lots of antibiotics. And there was also a winter, probably around that time as well, 10, 11 years ago it might be, we had a horrendous winter where we lost 20, maybe 25 sheep, and they were all in lamb and they were just about to lamb and they just were dying. And we could do, well, I was pulling my hair out, I was going round, we were obviously consulting the vets and all these things, and it came out that it was probably calcium deficiency. So we were injecting with calcium like it was going out of fashion, and we could not bring these sheep back around. They were literally dying. And in hindsight now, I can see why they were dying. But back then I couldn't, and neither could anyone else. And neither was anybody talking about the very fact that why is it that our animals are dying because of mineral deficiencies? So the mineral in this instance was calcium, but also that summer we had quite a wet summer. So when they went to ram and things like that, they hadn't got enough vitamin D. So there was not enough sunshine shining on them. So that had reduced their health. And there's also another part of the triangle, it's like a triangle of minerals, which was phosphorus. So phosphorus should be coming up into the plant, into our plants that are in our ground, but it wasn't because it locks up. So we were fighting these fires of, oh God, just save the sheep. And to be honest, I will hold my hands up, still this winter just gone, I had 4 or 5 sheep that I was having to inject with calcium every single day. But that's a whole lot less than what was dying 10 years ago. And actually we still have a few that die now because I just don't catch them quick enough or don't give them enough calcium. It's very hard to balance it out. Now, in hindsight now, I can see what was happening. So since then, in the last 10 years, I have learned an awful lot, not everything, believe me, not everything, but I've learned an awful lot about soil. And I've learned how soil, if it's healthy, it should have all the minerals and vitamins and nutrients that an animal should need. And that soil should pass it on to whatever plant's growing in it, and it should come up through the plant, and then the animal eats it and it goes into the animal. So there's loads of vitamins and minerals out there, micronutrients, macronutrients, lots of which I have no idea about still because it is such a huge and broad subject. But it's a subject that really has made me interested because 1, I don't want my sheep to keep dropping dead. 2, I don't want to have to keep doing sheep's feet. This is my ultimate goal in life, is to never have to turn a sheep over to do its feet, because if you've ever done it or if you've never done it, it stinks, it's horrible. The sheep don't like it, but they need it done because otherwise they're going around in pain. They don't like it, we don't like it, and actually I would prefer that it never had to happen. So it is my dream to let it be that we can improve our mineral uptake so much in our plants and stuff that the sheep will not get bad feet, they will not just die. And this will also help our cattle as well, because although our cattle are the highest health they could ever be in terms of everything, there's still just the grumblings occasionally. So we've had a couple that we've lost with phosphorus deficiency. Even though we've managed to inject them with phosphorus and stuff, some of them we've got back up and others haven't got back up. And we've also had lots of other things. So it's iodine is another one. Iodine is a big problem, not just on our farm, but in Devon and Cornwall, I think, as well. It could be further up the country. So iodine is a huge problem because it actually prevents our cattle and sheep getting into calf or into lamb because it affects the fertility. Iodine is also important when a newborn animal is born, so a calf or a lamb. And if there's not enough iodine present, they will not have enough oomph to get going and start sucking. So calves in particular, excuse the cat in the background, the two cats in the background, the calves in particular will come out and make this awful noise, and it's horrendous. And that is because they are lacking in iodine, and I've not discovered a way of helping them in the process after they've been born, but what we have discovered is that if we treat the sheep and the cows with iodine, coming up to the calves or the lambs being born, they will actually come out loads stronger, and it just prevents that those deaths around birth, really, because they just come out stronger. They'll get right up, they'll go to suck. So iodine is a big thing. But in my mind, I believe that the iodine is in our ground, that it is here, it's in the stones, it's in the soil. And actually, the reason we're not getting it up is because our farming practices over the last 70 to 80 years, maybe, I don't know how long they've been doing it. I can't speak for my great uncle, but for however many years it's been happening, we have not been taking into account the quality of the soil and the taking care of the soil. We've taken and taken from the soil, and we've not thought, hang on a minute, we need to put something back. We need to put it back. And this also is made worse by the huge use of nitrogen now. So nitrogen, bagged nitrogen, came in as a way of producing more food quicker in the UK, particularly around and after the Second World War, because they needed more food. So the use of bagged nitrogen on our ground meant that they could grow more food quickly, and it was just, so we went into this we need more mindset, which is still the mindset we need now. We need more food, we need more food, we need more food. But it was at the detriment to the quality of the food. So although we have more food now, the quality of our food is actually quite rubbish. And that is the problem, because we now need more food because the quality of what we are eating is so poor. And that ultimately comes down to the fact is that the soil that our fruits and vegetables and animals are growing off isn't being taken care of, isn't being replaced, so it's not having the organic matter isn't being put back, and by that I mean compost and dung and all those things, isn't being put back onto the soil. So we are now, therefore, so here on this farm, this is exactly what's happening, right? So for the last 5 years, maybe even a few more than that, I've been driving my dad to the point of distraction, he would say, but driving him in a way that we need to get rid of this reliance of nitrogen and bagged fertilizer, because it's not that great. Anyway, it served a purpose, it did, but now it's not serving us at all. It is killing everything that is alive in our soil, because what it does is it kills the microbes and the bacteria and the fungi that all live in the soil food web, and it ultimately prevents our plants from getting all the minerals and vitamins and everything that they need, because we've killed the particles or the bits in the soil that actually talks to the plant. So there's a bridge that should come between the soil and the plant, so that whatever minerals are in the soil can be put into the plant. The plant is then obviously eaten by the animal, so the animal then becomes this ultimately healthy animal. Another thing that we've done, as well as using bagged fertilizer, we've gone into a very monoculture kind of growing, I can't think of the word, but we're growing monoculture grasses, so this being mainly ryegrass and clover. So 2 grass types, so there might be different breeds of ryegrass and there might be this, that and the other. But actually it is ultimately still the same. It's a high sugared grass which grows meat quickly and helps with milk production. So it's been an amazing plant, and it's helped UK farmers to get to this place of producing milk and everything. But what it's done again is it's disabled our animals' ability to choose what they want to eat. So if you say give them a diverse lay of different herbs, for example, so one of our fields that we've just planted up there, we've put in about 16, maybe 17 different grasses and herbs, so that when the animals go into that field, they will choose what they want, and therefore they can actually choose what they want when they aren't feeling that great. Because I believe that animals are much better at knowing exactly what they need than we are. So if it's there, they will go for it, they will eat it. And it's the same with, like, they will eat trees, they will eat, so bramble leaves for animals are really good for upset tummies and things like that. So they'll strip bramble leaves if they've got an upset tummy. If you have a cow that's just calved, she will actively go and find stinger nettles because they're high in iron. So she will eat those stinger nettles to help rebuild her iron levels after she's calved. As well, so those are 2 perceived as weeds that I've just mentioned there, brambles and stinger nettles, that aren't actually weeds at all. They are part of what can make up a diverse and different kind of greenery garden, I guess, for our animals. And I honestly believe if we going forward on our farm can help increase the health and the vitality of the soil, it will improve the quality of our plants, and it will then improve the health of our cows and our sheep and any other animal that decides it wants to live here. Because it all essentially comes down to this point of, everything that pertains to life comes from the soil. So soil is incredible, and actually there's somebody that says we actually know more about the moon than we know about soil, which is kind of crazy when we have to travel however many thousand miles in a rocket to the moon, and the soil is right here under our feet. And so this is what is my passion at the moment. This is what is driving me and my crazy videos on here, because I want to share with you the amazingness of UK farming and why it is necessary for us to farm it with animals, with flowers, with trees, with plants, because ultimately they all go in together to make a symbiotic concoction that we potentially will never fully understand. And I feel that we as UK farmers can actually embrace this now and start getting interested, get inspired. We've had mushrooms grow this week and it's October. My dad says, I can't believe it. I don't think we've ever had mushrooms growing in October. And it's in our new field that we've just planted the herbal ley in. We've actually used microlizing fungi, which is to help build up the fungi in the soil. And it really wouldn't surprise me that we've put that in and the mushrooms have decided to grow. So mum and dad and Andrew all got amazing mushrooms this week for their breakfast. And that is the exciting part of farming for me now. It's not this place of, oh my God, we've got to do this, we've got to change that. Oh, yes, there is that element because it is hard to change. It is a scary process. Our whole farm is this one massive great science experiment at the moment where we're doing all sorts of different things, and it seems to change on a daily, weekly, hourly basis. And it can be a scary reality, particularly because we've made ourselves feel safe using fertilizers and farming in a specific way. So we feel safe doing it that way. However, when you step outside the box and start farming in a different way, start like putting flowers in, start planting trees, redo your grassland. So this is our biggest one at the moment. When you take out 13 acres at one time of a 200-acre farm, it's quite a daunting thing if the seeds don't grow. Bearing in mind, we have been doing stuff to the soil, but it's potentially still not enough to get it really going. So you kind of, it's a hope and a prayer really that those seeds will grow, the grass will grow, so we'll actually have a crop in the spring. If we don't have a crop, we therefore have to go and reseed it again and hope that that grows. And that is where the problem comes, because none of us wants to be in a position where we can't feed the actual animals we've got on our farm. We don't want that. And for us in particularly on our farm as well, we like to see the whole process through. So we like the babies to be born on farm, to live on farm, to grow on farm, and then to leave the farm and go into the kind of the meat process market in the UK, so that we know the whole story really, rather than selling them to anybody else and, you know, whatever. So it's a very challenging time when you're planting new things if they decide not to grow, because we still need to feed the 150 cattle that we've got, the 100 sheep that we've got, and everything else. You still need to feed them in the winter. You still need to feed them in the spring. Spring is one of our most challenging times, particularly if it's dry, because believe it or not, it can rain all winter. And if we get hit with a dry spring on our farm, because it is very, very droughty, and that again is because we've broken down our soil and the goodness in the soil, which means that it doesn't hold enough water anymore. If we get hit with a drought in the spring, we have to then feed longer. And this year just gone, we actually ended up with 13 bales left. So I know that there'll be some people that have cleared out and had to buy in. We've had to buy in a little bit, but nothing like we would have if we had complete crop failure. And this year I worked out we needed 900 bales to feed for the winter. So we've got our 900 bales and we've got an extra 100 as well. So we've got 1,000 bales in the stack up there, which is fine. All being that the weather is right in the spring to rain and grow the grass, and it warms up as well. This year we were hit with a very cold, you might remember it was very cold all through May, so grass actually didn't start growing until June. Now normally it would be growing in March, so we missed two to 3 months just about of the growing season, which was a scary time as well. And yeah, so we're very much reliant on the weather. But again, I believe if we continue to improve our soil quality here on our farm, the weather won't make such a difference. In fact, the weather patterns that we get might be that it's just right for our farm, because there's a connection between the soil and the clouds as well. So if there's too much soil that heats up, it can actually drive clouds away, and that's what makes areas dry. So that's why deserts are deserts and it no longer rains there, because they don't have the soil structure, they don't have the plant growing in the soil and stuff. It just heated up and it just drives. So who knows what happens or what will happen if we improve our soil to the extent that actually we improve the weather over our farm as well. That would be pretty cool, wouldn't it? So I'm very aware that I've chatted for a long time, but I hope you've enjoyed today's video.